Hello, everyone. It is Conan, and today we have a very spicy video. I'm so sorry for that intro, but as you might be able to glean from the title, well, I don't actually know what I'm gonna call the video quite yet. At the moment, it's a toss between why I quit my webcomic and top 10 mistakes to avoid when doing a webcomic, which are both very clickbaity titles, which is why I'm considering them. Okay, anyways, today I will be talking my webcomic, but you may be thinking, hey Conan, you keep mentioning that you're working on a comic. Did you already fucking quit it before you started? No, I did not. I actually worked on a webcomic for almost 2 years before having to quit it, which was great. That was a fucking nightmare. And I will talk about it today because, quite honestly, at this point, I feel like I've gotten over it enough to where it won't ruin my mental health to think about the comics. So, yeah, if anyone, I kind of want to make this video for just anyone else who might find themselves in a similar situation to me, to where they have to actually quit doing something. And yeah, I want to explain why I had to quit and how that maybe could have been avoided. This will be kind of similar to my October comic video thing that I did like 1 or 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a couple weeks ago. But without further ado, let's get into it. Oh, first, I'm actually working on some test pages for the reboot of the comic, which is the footage you're gonna see in the background. So yeah, I just thought I'd have some comic footage there so you have something to look at. But I think this will be a very good video to just listen to if you draw along to these videos or something. I would recommend that. So yeah, my old webcomic. My old webcomic called Arai. I think I launched it in like 2017, 2016, something like that. No, definitely 2017. And let's just say I wasn't very prepared. Let's first just go back to the very beginning, talk about the comic for a bit. So I had these characters, and I had this very vague story for them, but the story was mostly made up of just 2 or 3 key moments I really wanted to draw. And for some reason, in my young hubris, I assumed that would be enough to carry a whole comic project. That was actually also just very much around the time I got really into making comics. I always wanted to make comics, but I took a comic class, and of course I was still in quote unquote high school. I don't have high school because I'm not American, but equivalent. And I thought I could just take these characters I drew a lot and just go and make a comic. So if you know anything about comicking, you might know that thumbnailing is incredibly important. It's important to have a script. It's important to have the whole plot constructed before you focus in on the details, you need the major story beats. All of this I basically didn't know. I knew very little about actually making comics especially writing. And well, my art wasn't the greatest because that was like 4 years ago now. So yeah, I kind of just got started drawing pages and just kept drawing pages and started posting these pages. And that was it for quite a while. I just would come up on the fly with pages and draw them and write the dialogue by hand. It all looked really bad. I might try looking for some examples of old pages to actually show that. I didn't even have the style completely worked out because I kept experimenting with the background a lot as well. So that's not the best start for a long-running project. But at the time, I was just taking my final exams. I already had my education, which back at the time I thought I would stick to, lined up. And yeah, so the comic was out there. I was actually updating it quite frequently. And I mean, it didn't get a lot of engagement, which is understandable because I didn't really promote it or anything. And back then, I also didn't really expect anything to get any engagement. I was just in it to win it. I was just doing it because I wanted to. And I think that went quite well for chapter 1. I think I would post like 2 pages a week. And yeah, I think by the time 2018 rolled around, I'm so sorry if I get anything wrong, by the way. I could check the dates on my comic, but I really don't want to. I was just finishing chapter 1, I think, starting on chapter 2. And that's also, well, not quite, but around that time some doubts started to trickle in. But I kind of just pushed them aside and kept going. I did improve some things, like my lettering. I got a little lettering guide, so it was a little easier to read. And yeah, I also made a lot of my friends read it, which was quite cool. And yeah, it was just kind of a cool experience to have people in real life who were waiting for your updates. And yeah, I think around that time, also through that exposure, I started thinking about the characters more. And the characters, this sounds really stupid, but the characters started to take on a life of their own. Like, I hadn't established their personalities as much as I thought. And also, some personality traits they had turned out to not work. Yeah, they were just very one-dimensional, which didn't work as soon as you'd then put them into a narrative where they would interact. And there were, through my very improvised writing, it happened a lot of times that I would discover certain like character dynamics or personality traits I hadn't even considered before. And that's basically where the real trouble started. That was one thing I started to become aware of, and I tried to constantly improve as I went. But the way the characters acted in like the first pages didn't fit their personalities anymore. But that was just the beginning. At that point, it was like, whatever, I'm just gonna keep on going. Let's just go. And yeah, then I actually started world building, which sounds really stupid, but there was this whole well of untapped potential in my webcomics universe. I just kind of had as like a generic side location plot people, and they weren't really fleshed out. They were just like generic antagonists, which, why Conan? Oh my god. And I actually started building out this whole second world, and then I really realized if I want to do it like that, things would have to change drastically. And again, I started to realize that what I had started off with didn't fit how I wanted the narrative to go anymore. And at this point, still, I kept on going. I was also questioning some of the character designs I had made, some general design decisions I didn't like anymore because they weren't really thought out or they didn't fit anymore. And then I think that was beginning of 2019. I think I was just about to finish up chapter 3, or just at a major cliffhanger in chapter 3. And I was also really stressed because of university. And I think it was like April or May or something. I really have a hard time with structuring the year of 2019 because mental health problems also play into this, but we're not gonna talk about that. This is just about the comic. But yeah, I was at this local Comic-Con event with a friend, and I started to talk to some artists I really admired, because it kind of turned out they had went to the university I was currently at, and we kind of got to talking, and they were also webcomic creators, and they asked me about my webcomic. And when I was like put on the spot, and at that point my friend was also going off somewhere, so I was just on my own, and I kind of had to explain what my comic was about. And that's when I really realized, holy shit, this is garbage, this sucks. This is not something I'm at all happy with. And that's really when it hit me, and I couldn't stop thinking about it anymore. And I kind of just finished off the chapter and was then like, okay, I'm just gonna take a break. And then a lot of stuff in my life happened, and I didn't even want to think about it anymore for a couple of months. And that turned into a year, and I just, I kept thinking about it, but I wasn't producing any more pages, and it just kind of fell to the wayside. And at some point I had to be like, alright, I can't keep going with it the way it's now, which is very unfortunate, because I've already spent almost 2 years of my life on this. And on the other hand, I was like, but I really love these new characters that have kind of risen from the ashes, and their new character dynamics I was very excited about. And I also did a lot of research on storytelling and how to build good story arcs, and I practiced writing, and I was starting to feel like I can do it again, which is kind of where we are now, approaching the end of 2020, over a year since I stopped working on my old comic, which I'm now calling kind of the draft. It's still around if you can find it, if you want to read it, but I do want to say it's nothing like what the new one is going to be. At least I hope so. The characters are, in my opinion, more developed, and their personalities are completely different. So yeah, that's kind of the very long story of why I quit my webcomic. And I don't know, I might do another video where I talk about what kind of stuff I considered when deciding to restart, and like tips for starting a webcomic, since I now feel like I'm a bit more qualified. But I do hope you kind of enjoyed this little look into my brain and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Just to say some stuff about what's going on in the background. My old comic was color, but I also decided to keep this new one in black and gray because A, it's easier to print and cheaper, and B, because I think it's just way faster, and this way I can produce pages faster and catch up to where I was with the old one and relaunch it. So yeah, I hope you kind of enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more about my comic process and the things I'm gonna do in the future, I'd love it if you stick around. Maybe leave a comment if you could relate to this story, or about the things you kind of want to hear about in my tips video. But I will see you later. Goodbye.